Hi everyone, today I am with my friend Edmund Chang. He is the guy who originally got me onto the Carnivore Diet August last year, and before I was on the Carnivore Diet I was doing some exercise, but I was obese and I was very sick, and Edmund had been trying to get me to eat the Confort diet for a number of years. I forgot how long, maybe 2 years. And I always thought he was nuts because it was all meat, eggs and cheese and butter, no vegetables, no fruit. And I just thought that was crazy. But once I started the Carnivore diet, my health changed a lot, and I reversed a number of illnesses, including arthritis, high blood pressure, depression, and insomnia, and lost a ton of weight. So today I wanted to interview Edmund to get his take on the diet itself. Edmund, how did you discover this diet, and how did you start your journey?
Okay, yeah. I was traditionally like the whole kind of skinny fat guy. And I needed to really push my fitness, and I used the standard calories in, calories out method, which is obviously we know is very flawed, but as a very basic way to at least get me to a certain fitness to do some racing, Spartan races in particular. So that started the journey off on my health and fitness route. But eventually I ended up in Italy on a holiday. And I knew if I go on this 2-week holiday and eating pasta every day, I would definitely put on weight. So I made a promise myself that unless it was like a Michelin star restaurant or something special, I wouldn't eat any pasta or risotto of that nature. Just really make it count every time I eat. And by that nature, I was mainly eating meat, because that's meat and fat, because that seemed to get the best bang for its buck. And during this holiday, one of my friends noticed that, and he looks at me and says, "Ed, are you a carnivore or something?" And we laughed about it like a joke. Ha ha ha. Sure enough, that night I went on YouTube and looked up the word Carnivore Diet, and sure enough I went down this little rabbit hole with people like Sean Baker, now that I follow, and Michaela Peterson, and kept going down and down. Yeah.
So if I could just step in. So part of how Carnivore Diet exploded was when Jordan Peterson, who was the famous psychologist, went on the Joe Rogan podcast and said he and his daughter went on it, and then it reversed a bunch of illnesses. This was after he went on on the Joe Rogan podcast, or
it's around the same time. But what happened first was actually Sean Baker 6 years ago went on. And that's one of the videos I found, which was already like 2 years old when I found it, 1.5, 2 years old. And that went into a lot of detail. And because of that video, I think that influenced Jordan Peterson and Michaela and what have you. But yeah, I think Sean Baker was the original guy who really brought it to mass popularity. And he's the one that invented Carnivore Month, January. So he was the original OG guy. That I followed.
Yeah, we just had that month. And Sean Baker's a funny guy. He's a very good athlete. And I like how he made that month and just trolling the vegans, but we'll get to that. So go on about your own story.
Yeah, so I went down this carnivore route, and obviously being a very basic newbie to this, obviously made a lot of mistakes at the start. I was just eating any meat and stuff with a lot of sauces and honey. Like the Chinese char siu, that's very, very tasty, but sometimes they use way too much sugar and honey for that. But at least I got rid of all processed foods, all vegetables, and all fruit. So no grains and no sugar. That's like the simple rule. It's made from grain or it has sugar in it, even if it's fruit, whether it be even simple sugar, even if it's yams or potatoes, any plants, grains, and fruit went out the window. And as I progressed along, I learned more and more about how to cut down the sauces and cut down all the other little cheats I have on the side, except for one, obviously, which is red wine, unfortunately.
Okay. So when you introduced the carnivore diet, or tried to, because it took almost 2 years, I think, and I just thought you were nuts. And in fact, we had heated debates about how the science behind it, because I felt that humans, our teeth and digestive system is definitely suited to be omnivores, and also for a lot of other people out there who are not on the carnivore diet, although I'm going to post this on the carnivore diet forums, but for people who might think the carnivore diet is very extreme, because it doesn't have fiber, it doesn't have vegetables, so no fiber. That was one of my concerns as well, because a lot of people think if you don't eat fiber, you're going to get colon cancer or something. So a lot of people have these issues. Now, I knew at the time that saturated fats and cholesterol, ingested saturated fats and cholesterol is not bad and will not raise your blood cholesterol or give you heart problems. But a lot of people also are confused with regards to that. So if you could just explain to people who are not on the carnivore diet or that don't understand this science, in terms of the omnivore teeth, gut, the fiber issue, and the saturated fat and cholesterol issue.
Yeah, so I like to take like words from Sean Baker, where he says humans are omnivores, but they'll be optimized omnivores. They will always go for the optimal food if possible, i.e. animal-based, ruminant-based, and then if that's not available, you go down the food chain to, maybe smaller animals, like rabbits, and then eventually go down to maybe even bugs. And then if that's not available, you eventually will eat plants, and what you can eat, what plants humans can digest, but it's not optimal if you didn't have to.
Right. In fact, we had this discussion when we went on a run today. If you just put a person in the wild, in an area they're not familiar with, and told them to survive, and they just ate plants, they'll probably die pretty soon, because
if my fridge, when the zombie apocalypse comes, if my fridge is full of cow, or if my fridge is full of eggs, if I have full of cow, I would definitely die. But if it's full of eggs, I will live longer than everyone else. That's
but the stuff that we buy, the stuff we buy in the supermarkets, that's been filtered for hundreds, if not thousands of years by different societies for the selection of stuff that we can eat. Not necessarily optimal, but that we can eat without dying. But if I just put you in the wild and just say survive, and you ate random
one way to say about it is
plants, then you'll probably poison.
If you're in a forest full of plants, 99% of those plants will poison you.
Right.
But if you're in a place with lots of different animal meats, probably about 99% of that will help you.
Right.
That's the difference in percentages we're talking about.
Right. So from what I understand from anthropology studies, humans only ate plants when they were starving, when there weren't enough animals around to hunt.
Yeah.
And that's how they discovered the edible plants. In fact, they fed captives plants, people who they captured through battle, plants, to discover which ones were the poisonous ones and which one weren't, by seeing if they died or not.
So I would say, so, I lost my thought about that. I would say, like...
The optimal omnivore.
Yeah, being optimal omnivore, I would say, if you could, you always eat ruminant ruminant animals, because they're the ones digesting the toxins of the plants for you.
So they're like a filter for the toxins.
Yeah, because they have multiple stomach chambers, and also one of them is the ruminant stomach, which is a certain acidity to help break it down. And even that finds it hard to break down the plant matter. So they actually chew the cud, which means actually regurgitating food into their mouths and go and put it back in the rumen again multiple times. This is not really acceptable for humans to do in society. But this is what the animal does for us, so that we can, eat its organs and muscle meat to gain the nutrition, because they've already processed it properly.
Okay, so for the viewers out there who think we definitely have to eat a mixed diet, that's the explanation. And then when it comes to the fiber issue, what do you think about that then?
So The thing is with popular science, we've been told as kids, kind of brainwashed as kids, that you need fiber to produce poo. But if you like got a blocked drain, shoving more tissue and paper down it doesn't help block it until you put so much in that it all comes out and you do unblock it. Oh, success! Or how about never put that tissue and paper in the drainage pipe anyway? So if you go into any scientific studies, there actually are zero scientific good control, called randomized control tests of if fiber is needed for the human body. And there's many doctors like Zoe Harco and Sean Baker with a lot of studies showing that, and there's another Dr. Mason, that actually the small studies that they do, maybe like 20 to 120 people, everyone's improved their gut issues with zero fiber.
Right.
And I found that myself personally as well.
So you've been on the Confort diet how long?
4.5 years now.
And no gut issues, no digestive issues from eating zero fiber, right?
It's been amazing. I'm not bloated. I have a flat stomach all the time without trying. I don't really even have to think about it, but I just don't have a belly, don't have a beer belly, don't have any sort of gut issues at all.
Okay, so just to confirm, not only is he not dead, he's actually in really good shape. Okay, so for the third issue, people think, well, I remember when I announced on Facebook I was going to go on a Carnivore diet, 2 friends came out and said, you're going to get a heart attack by eating all that meat, the red meats. Because a lot of people think the saturated fats from animal fats will give you a heart attack, clog your arteries, and the cholesterol, which is also in eggs, and eggs are really good, will up your body's cholesterol. So what do you think about that?
Well, I've been doing this I'm not doing this blindly, so I don't tell the doctor everything I'm doing, but I every year I routinely do a full medical, and the doctor said my cholesterol profile was the best she's ever seen in her career. Okay, so HDL's high, LDL's low, the ratio is an amazing ratio, and my triglycerides are low, which I think was the main marker. So even eating eggs every day for 4.5 years, I have the best cholesterol she's seen in her career.
Right, and for those who don't know, triglycerides is your blood fat, and if it's elevated, then it can cause you problems. And one of the reasons we think why people get unhealthy and high triglycerides is actually from the sugar and carbohydrates, and not from the cholesterol that you eat or the saturated fats. Okay, so you already you worked out before you went on the Carnivore diet.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like your physique got better because you started working out and did the Carnivore diet as a sort of like a lot of people do as a package to try and reverse their obesity or something. So you were already working out, so you're pretty good control for seeing exactly how that diet affected your fitness level, right?
Yeah, so regarding my fitness level, before starting, I was very, very lean because I got to the point where I was doing a lot of Spartan racing, but it was hard work keeping that leanness and, having that six-pack. I felt I was always depriving myself, okay? And then that brought me to, like, when I'm doing carnivore, I just found I did put on a bit more weight, but also felt like it was easy. I didn't need to try as much. So working out, I could do the same type of workout, but it was just easier. And less effort, and all my joints felt better. But that also brings us to a point of what physique you want, and what do people want. And I feel like a lot of people, looking at men's health magazines and stuff, that's some sort of like male body dysphoria, where they feel like they need to look a certain way, to be healthy, and what healthy means. So I soon learned that also, like, having some fat is good for your body. I mean, do have a six-pack, but it doesn't always have to show. And I would say, my fitness journey has just gone from strength to strength, but also it's more of a health journey than a fitness journey. So these words get, like, interchanged a lot, and I don't necessarily think they're completely mutually exclusive, but there are different terms. And for me, and now I'm going for health rather than fitness.
Okay, well, right, so it's a good point you mentioned the health issue, because I think for a lot of guys out there, or also for the ladies watching, they might not want to, they might not have the goal of getting a six-pack or being a bikini model or whatever, but just about everyone wants good health. I doubt anybody wants to have bad health. So what do you think has changed in terms of your health since you've been on the carnivore diet?
Yeah, so since starting on carnivore diet, also in my mind, I've rejigged how I think about health and fitness. Now I think fitness as like short-term gains, and health is all about longevity. At the end, what do I want, or what do people want? I want health and longevity. Being fit maybe is something you want to achieve in a small-term goal. Be fit for this photo shoot. Be fit for this 100-meter sprint. Be fit for this, lifting competition. But is it sustainable? Being able to run 100 meters really fast, then doing it with some drugs, doing with that drug called sugar, doing with that drug called carbohydrates.
Interesting point. You said carbohydrates are a drug, and most people wouldn't agree with that, because they'll think that eating pasta or rice or bread is pretty normal. So how do you see that differently from most people?
Yeah, I mean, using the word drug maybe is more of a derogatory term. How about using the word stimulant?
Okay.
Okay, it makes you perform a bit better for the short term. But for the long term, longevity, is this something that you really want your kidneys and your liver and your organs having to process every time for a performance, right? So that's when my view changed, and also like my feeling, and when I look in the mirror, and what do you really want for yourself? Do I really care about doing the Spartan race in a record time, or do I rather just live a great life to pass my 75th birthday and still be healthy and strong? So health for me means longevity. What can I do and sustain it and not feel like I'm missing out on anything? I'm not like withholding back with cravings and what have you. And this carnivore way of living seems to have ticked all those boxes.
Okay, so I think for the average person, they would agree that sugar is bad, but a lot of people just think, well, what's wrong with pasta or rice or bread? When you say it's more optimal for your health, and what's the science behind it?
Well, it's all sugars at the end of the day, right? There are all different types of sugars. Obviously we know about sucrose, but there's dextrose, maltose, galactose, which is a lactose molecule, linked onto a glucose molecule. But there's all different types of sugars retained in potatoes, yams, and the traditional fruits that we all know. And there's even like small parts of sugars and things we think are vegetables. Right. But, a lot of vegetables aren't really vegetables. They're actually the flower of the plant. So technically be fruit, but because we don't feel the sweetness in our mouth straight away, we classify them as vegetables. But a lot of them have carbohydrates, which breaks down to sugar in your blood.
Right. So you're saying basically the carbohydrates in the pasta or the bread or the rice, once it enters our body, is broken down by the enzymes into sugar, basically. That it's basically monosaccharides, but people know it as sugar in their mind.
Yeah, and you get insulin response, and you also stop your ketosis and stop glycogenesis. So anything that does that, you can classify as a carb or sugar. And my main crux of it was, I think, we don't need it. Okay, it's not essential. So anything put in your body that's not essential is for pleasure. Okay, the pleasure of being to run faster, climb faster, get a buzz, dopamine, hit. So there's only, essential fatty acids. There's only essential amino acids. There's no essential carbohydrates in our life.
Now, when you initially we had the heated debates about the Confort diet, but I finally switched over because my health was so bad. I was pretty desperate. And I think a lot of people who actually go on the carnivore diet do it because they have health issues, and they realize how beneficial it is. And just to make the record clear, so I'm not deceiving anyone, I am not currently on the carnivore diet. I eat a high meat-based ketogenic diet. So I do cook with stuff like onions and garlic, and I eat avocados and blueberries. But the number of things I eat which are not meat, eggs, cheese, or butter are under 10. So I'm not a strict carnivore. No, technically not even a carnivore, but I'm very high meat based.
So I think they call it mostly meat.
Mostly meat.
Yeah.
Okay. So for when you try to, what I'm doing on this YouTube channel, as well as what Edmund did for me, we're just trying to help other people by improving their health, because Edmund was never sick, but I was. And we don't mean anything bad by it, but we've done a lot of scientific research. And when we try to shift friends, though, to a healthier lifestyle, I think some people might think we're kind of wearing tinfoil hats and conspiracy theorists will just gone nuts by eating such a extreme diet and trying to get our health optimized. Okay, this is the crazy thing, that people, society has now gone to the point where a lot of people are just used to not being healthy. So when you tried to shift your friends, I think at this point you said you kind of given up, but when you tried to shift your friends to being healthy and to promote the carnivore diet, what type of issues did you notice with your friends? Like, were you arguing, or what happened?
Like yourself, a lot of resistance.
Okay.
Some of it was in a friendly way, like they're worried about me. But I think now 4.5 years in, a lot of that's gone. Everyone's like, you do you, I do me, and they've seen I'm always happy to show my blood work on Facebook.
So they know it exists, but they're still.
I'm slowly turning the tide. I feel like people like yourself who are very stubborn, but I've shown the way. So the way I realize is not by knocking on people's door and saying you should live like this. The way is just by demonstration, like with my Facebook posts and things that I've done, the way I look, what I do. I'm boxing twice a week, running up that bloody peak, and doing stuff which I couldn't do consistently before, and I'm doing it now whilst enjoying my food, being satiated, and just loving life. And by demonstrating that, hopefully, help people turn the page somewhat on their original thoughts of this way of living.
Okay, so I think you can literally claim to be the first carnivore diet practitioner in Hong Kong, if you can call it practitioner.
Maybe, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Because
no one else has reached out to me.
There's a lot of people doing the carnivore diet in the US, in Western countries, but in Asia is a lot less, and I don't know anybody else in Hong Kong doing it. So have you, other than, like I mentioned...
But also, I'm not a pure carnivore, I am a dirty carnivore, so I do have my cheats as well, so I'm not prone to be so strict.
Right, so he's carnivore, I'm mostly meats. But have you converted any other of your friends or any other carnivores you know about that?
No, I don't think I've converted anyone, but I would say that even with my family and other close friends, I would say they've become much more meat heavy. Because they're not so afraid of it anymore. They're like, yeah, look at Edmund Chan, he's obviously fine. Why don't we just eat more meat instead of always having like a meatless Monday? So that stuff went out the window for a lot of my friends. But we don't need to do that.
Yeah, so I basically, even same for my girlfriend, she's now eating more meats and eggs. So I think one of the benefits it would be people no longer scared of like having to trim the fat off the beef and the chicken skin and just worry that they're going to get a heart attack by eating beef.
Well, in fact, that's the worst thing to do. If you go full carnivore, you want to be eating all that fat. In fact, that's how you will get sick. By not eating that fat and eating too lean a meat and not eating enough calories from fat, because a lot of nutrition is also in fat as well as the energy.
Okay, and I had the discussion with you before that I know of people who I think are sick because they're not eating enough animal fats. Just things like they might have autoimmune issues or it'll affect the mood. Because the fat is used to produce nerve cells and brain cells, because our nerve cells and brain cells are made of animal fats.
Yep.
So what do you think will happen if somebody does not eat enough animal fats?
I think that's definitely how, as people age, especially the boomer generation, which we're told to not eat fat, you get a big spike in, dementia, and Parkinson's disease, and you see people slowly losing cognitive abilities earlier than they should be.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen that in some of my relatives in my family that are still so afraid of fat. They'd rather eat, margarine and cooking, seed oils than anything else, because that's the way they were brainwashed 40 years ago. When the first push came for a low-fat, high-carb diet.
Right. And just for the record, we're not being paid by the meat industry, right? We're doing this literally from personal experience. When I started eating a lot more animal fats, I slept a lot better, and my depression reversed. Okay, so do you have conflict with your family because you're eating carnivore and they don't want to, or whatever?
It's a little bit of conflict within my close family. My wife is a sports lady, so she still needs her carbs as far as she's concerned to do her swim races. But my daughter is only 8 years old, 7 years old, just turned 8, and with all the birthday parties, I don't want her to be excluded in any way. So obviously there's a pass, and obviously in school she gets fed certain amounts of carbs and vegetables, but we try our best to pick more high meat dishes in the school, and she's made she's done a few promises for me. We threw away cereal in the house, so she no longer has cereal, and for breakfast she always has a piece of meat and an egg. Okay. And that's the one thing, even though she doesn't like to, but that's what's keeping her on track.
Okay, so you feel it's important for parents not to feed their kids cereals and to give them meat and eggs, basically.
100%. 100%. The cereal thing was obviously, you need to scratch the surface a bit to find out that this was done by some 6 or 7 day Adventists. It's ridiculous. There's no research. They were funded by this church who thought meat gave dirty thoughts and promoted masturbation. The cereal is just a joke, and it just turns into sugar, and it gives your kids a big high going to school, and then big dip when they're in the classes. It's a terrible thing to have for breakfast.
And for anyone out there who thinks we're totally conspiracy theorists now, Google Kellogg's masturbation and you will get so many results. We didn't make this up. The original founder of Kellogg's was this ultra-religious guy who wanted to create a breakfast out of cereals rather than people eating meats to lower their testosterone levels so they won't be as horny and will stop masturbating. We did not make this up. It is on the internet. You can Google it, right? Okay. So, on the flip side, literally, a friend of mine mentioned that she's got a student who's her parents are vegans, and they're making her the child eat a vegan diet, and the child's starting to have issues. Now, tell me what you think will happen to a kid if they eat a vegan diet.
Yeah, I think it's very, very cruel.
Cruel?
Yeah, very cruel on the child.
But the parents might not know that it's having an impact on their kids. So what do you think will be the impact?
They should physically be able to see it. Kids will be a bit more stunted. You get bowed legs. Obviously, the mental cognitive ability is going to go down, and they're not going to be able to keep up with children of similar age, and also with motor skills, like so with learning to write, start using chopsticks and cutlery. All this will be probably coming at a slower pace. So they should visually be able to see the child deteriorating, and we've even seen cases where children have died eating a vegan diet, and the parents have been charged with manslaughter.
I think that was in Australia, wasn't it?
I think it was in America, but there's been a few cases. Obviously, it's not widely published in the press because it goes against the narrative, so you really have to dig for these stories, but it's there.
Okay, so for any parents out there who think just eating vegetables is a good idea, get your kids to eat some eggs and meat because they need it. They need the protein to be building blocks for their muscles and the fats for their brains and nerve cells, okay? All right, so anything else you want, any advice to give to our viewers in terms of health?
I think like a touched it briefly, but socially, you don't want to be the awkward person.
Okay.
You have to be able to blend in. And you know what? When you order at a restaurant, there's always a steak or fish dish. And if you don't eat the sides and the bit, don't have to say to the waiter, oh, I know you don't want to waste food. You don't have to make a big announcement, oh, no vegetable, no fries. Just take it. And just don't eat it. And you know what? If you don't talk about it, no one notices you didn't eat any of the vegetables or fries, okay? Just eat your fish, or eat your steak, or eat your lamb. Also, living in Hong Kong, it's actually very easy to be a carnivore. It's one of the highest meat-eating populations. I'm not saying all the meat's that good. There's different quality of meats, but Hong Kong has the upsurgence of people looking at carnivore as a healthy way. I've had a few people reach out to me talking about this way of eating, and also there's more butchers coming up. We're going to go to a couple today as well later. And there seems to be more demand for quality meat. People are asking, oh, is it grain-fed, is it grass-fed, is it grass-fed, grain-finished? Where was it brought up? Was it organic? Was it free roaming? Is it New Zealand? Is it Australia? Is it Wales? Okay, so, and this information is becoming more prevalent. So it's not just the wet, dodgy markets that you can get meat from, but a lot of butchers will give you even kill dates, head and hoof dates, and the day arrived in Hong Kong. So for me, that's positive regarding at least there's a demand for information. So I think, living in Hong Kong, there's very little excuse to not be a good, at least dirty carnivore.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your time. And if anybody is interested in the carnivore diet, or at least increase your meat consumption, which goes against the narrative of what a lot of people believe, then please contact Edmund. I'll put his information in the video description. And if you've watched all the way until now, please subscribe to my channel. So to the best of health, everyone.
Thank you.